near Gévaudan in southern France gave rise to the legend of a monster which was all too real 200 years ago. The Beast of Gevaudan, during its 1,000 days of blood, stalked and killed more than 100 people within the narrow confines of this harsh countryside in one of Europe's most horrific and still mysterious episodes. Plain houses, fallow fields, thick woods, clear waters, and arid plateaus. Almost nothing has changed in this region of farmers and shepherds since that day when the violence began. The rustic simplicity of the locale makes what happened that much more frightening. June 1764. The beast strikes for the first time. Jeanne Boulet, a 14-year-old girl tending her family's flock of sheep, is attacked and killed. So little remains that burial rites cannot be performed. A 3-year reign of terror has begun. August the 8th, parish of Puy-Laurent. A 15-year-old girl is attacked and devoured in the same manner. Later in the same month, in the village of Chélard-l'Évêque, an infant boy is the victim. September the 1st, the village of Chaudérac, a 15-year-old boy meets the same fate. September the 6th, the village of Estrée, a 36-year-old woman dies, her throat cut. For the first time, there are witnesses to an attack who run to help the victim of what appears to be a bear, but it's too late. A few days later, at the end of the day, a young boy is brought down as he returns to his hamlet from the fields with his flock. By the end of 1764, the beast had struck more than 20 times. Bishop Beaupré, the Count of Gévaudan, had little comfort to offer his flock. In fact, he blamed the people for the outbreak. A ferocious beast suddenly appears in our midst. No one knows from where, the bishop proclaimed from his pulpit. Everywhere it leaves its trail of cruelty. It preys on the young and the weak. It attacks with incredible speed and agility. It moves freely from village to village, rending flesh and spilling blood in scattered locations. But why dwell on the evil qualities of this monster when all of you already know of evil from your own misdeeds? For you must accept the fact that this terror befalls you now because of your own sins. What had those living in this rustic setting done to deserve the plague of violence? In fact, in a superstitious age, there probably were many who found some unconfessed sin or lapse of conscience in their own lives to take the bishop at his word. And so now a fear of the supernatural, perhaps a werewolf or a warlock or a witch, gripped the villagers. The year 1765 began ominously. The beast struck on January the 1st, 2nd, 6th, 7th, 12th, 14th, 22nd, 23rd, 30th. 9 more savage deaths in 1 month. To reach home before nightfall becomes an imperative. People live practically in hiding in their own homes. There have been several attacks near houses. No place is safe. A village priest described the panic in the little hamlets. The desolation was extreme, he wrote. People did not dare leave home except in armed groups. No one went to fairs or markets. It was impossible to get shepherds to watch over their flocks. The peasant imagination of Gévaudan tried to assimilate the many different reports in circulation about the beast. Some said it was the size of a calf with the head of a rabbit, reddish fur, and a black stripe down its back. Others claimed it walked on 2 legs like a bear. Many said it looked like an enormous wolf. Hated for their attacks on sheep, wolves were abundant in the mountains of Gévaudan at the time of the killings. It was common for a shepherd to lose an animal to a pack of wolves. Throughout Europe, wolves were identified with dark forces, and they were blamed for all sorts of misfortunes. "Our Father," went the peasant's prayer, "wicked wolf from hell, sent by Lucifer, beware your own death. Evil wolf, keep to your own path. Stay away from me. Amen." Meanwhile, the beast continued its carnage. Farm animals were frightened whenever they sensed its approach. 9-year-old Claude Bicaret d'Auvert was sent by his father to fetch oxen to safety from the pasture. When night fell, the boy had not returned. It took 3 days of searching to find his remains. A disturbing detail, the beast apparently had removed the boy's coat and shirt without tearing them before setting upon his victim. On Easter Sunday, 1765, the church bells of La Close muffled the screams of onlookers as 17-year-old Gabriel Pellissier was viciously attacked. By now, news of the beast had reached Versailles and the court of Louis XV. The king decided to send the finest hunters of the realm to Gévaudan to track down the monster. Despite the small area where the beast was operating, France's best marksmen were unable even to pick up its trail. Their humiliating failure made the beast appear even more menacing to the villagers. On August the 9th, after a day of fruitless pursuit with dogs, 2 hunters returned to their lodgings. Suddenly there were screams. It turns out the beast had been trailing them, and now before their eyes seized and killed a 16-year-old girl. In his letter to Louis XV, Antoine de Beauterne, the king's rifle-bearer, tried to explain his failure. "I have never seen a country as rough as this one. The rivers and mountains are very old and very steep, cut with ravines and filled with boulders, or covered with thick woods. The few towns of Gévaudan are all very small and widely scattered. If there is a beast of another species than the wolf causing these ravages, we have not been able to discover it." The local wolf population was decimated during this period, with at least 200 animals hunted down by the eager soldiers of the king. But following every wolf kill, the human killings resumed, and the nightmare continued for the villagers. The wolf, itself a figure of myth of long standing, may not have been blameless as the Beast of Gevaudan. Perhaps a large wolf was responsible for some of the killings, those involving small children and babies, which it might have been tempted to attack. Some questioned if a wolf were involved at all. How could a wolf, no matter how strong, carry off a human body at a run? Why would a wolf suddenly pick on shepherds instead of sheep? Why its sudden preference for human flesh? And what in a wolf's makeup would cause it to express the awful rage present at some of the murder scenes? As the winter of 1766 settled in, anxiety among the villagers actually rose, for they knew that with snow, wolves start hunting closer to human settlements. After yet another attack, a rumor spread that a bear was on the loose, one that had escaped from a troupe of ragtag entertainers traveling through the area. It had to be a trained bear to be killing in winter months, the reasoning went, because a wild bear would have gone into hibernation. The beast now shifted its attacks to another area of Gévaudan, near the Abbey of Mercoire. Another rumor surfaced, that a man named Messire was in hiding in the abbey. This Messire, once a favorite of the king, had been exiled from Versailles for acts of perversion. A possible new identity suggested itself for the beast, that of a deranged human, a psychotic serial killer. Finally, in June of 1767, the royal hunters reported killing the beast. This time, there was no mistaking it, for thereafter no more attacks on the villagers took place. But is the explanation that simple? The toll the Beast of Gevaudan had taken over 3 years was heavy: 170 attacks, over 100 fatalities. The villages, walkways, bridges, homes, roadsides and isolated woods and pastures of Gévaudan had all been stained with the blood of the beast's innocent victims. One account of the beast's final moments, although rich in detail, never mentions whether it was a wolf or a bear or some other animal that was killed by the master hunter Jean Chastel. When the beast was flushed out, it was driven toward the hunters, among them Jean Chastel, who was reading litanies to the Virgin from his Book of Hours. He saw the beast approaching, and saw clearly that it was the beast. But trusting in Our Lady, he waited to finish his prayers. He then closed the book, slipped it into his pocket, and picked up his musket. Kneeling, he shouldered the musket, aimed, and fired. And the beast fell. Was the beast an animal, a human psychopath, or some dark supernatural force? Or were the killings done not by one individual, but by several? 2 centuries later, the legend of the Beast of Gevaudan continues to taunt us for an answer.